Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at the 12 new retro motorcycles 2026. Number 12, Royal Enfield Bullet 650. The Royal Enfield Bullet 650 brings a fresh exterior for 2026 with cleaner lines, tighter fenders, and a tank shape that looks smoother than the older build. The seat line is straighter, the frame looks more balanced, and the overall weight at roughly 440 pounds gives it a planted feel without making it heavy in city use. The engine moves to a 650 twin that changes the way this bike behaves. It has better pull at low speed, stronger mid-range push, and smoother output across the revs. The new version also brings tighter brakes, stronger fork tuning, and better rear shock response. The instruments keep a classic look, but the internals are upgraded, giving clearer backlighting and quicker needle movement. The exhaust note is deeper and more steady, which fits the retro theme that USA buyers expect. The expected price sits around $7,000 to $8,000 in the USA market, placing it below many retro competitors while giving a stronger engine and cleaner overall finish. Overall, the Bullet 650 delivers the old charm with real updates in power, feel, and design, making it a solid pick for riders who want classic style with real 2026 improvements. Number 11, Honda CB1000F. The Honda CB1000F steps into 2026 with a sharper exterior that mixes retro ideas with a clean modern stance. The tank curve is smoother, the side panels sit tighter, and the lighting units use compact shapes that blend into the body instead of sticking out. The seating line is a bit flatter than before, giving it a solid road presence without looking bulky. The engine is a 1,000 cubic centimeter inline-4 that delivers smooth strength across the range. It picks up with little effort, holds steady on highway speed, and responds cleanly when you roll back on the throttle. The new mapping gives better fuel control, and the cooling system keeps temperatures steady even during long summer rides. Extra changes show up in the suspension and brakes. The fork uses a fresh setup that deals with rough patches without sending sharp feedback to the rider. The rear unit gives more grip and stays settled when you shift weight in corners. The braking kit is upgraded with stronger calipers and a more predictable lever pull. The expected USA price should land around $12,000 to $13,000, putting it in a space where it gives strong value for a large engine bike with updated parts. Overall, the Honda CB1000F brings a clean mix of retro charm and modern control in a way that feels right for 2026, giving riders a strong engine, a refined ride, and a look that stays true to its core style. Number 10, Kawasaki Z900 RS. The Kawasaki Z900 RS enters 2026 with a cleaner exterior that respects its old-school appeal while adding small updates that make it look sharper. The tank curve is smoother, the side covers sit closer to the frame, and the round headlamp now has a more refined internal setup. The seat line flows better into the rear section, giving the bike a settled stance without looking heavy. The engine is a 900 cubic centimeter inline-4 that brings smooth power in every part of the rev range. It reacts with little delay, pulls well in mid-range, and keeps a calm tone at highway speed. The new tuning improves throttle control, and the cooling system keeps heat in check during long rides or warm weather. Extra changes show up in the suspension and electronics. The front fork uses a better internal setup that settles the bike on rough pavement, and the rear shock provides firmer support when leaning into corners. The brakes feel more direct due to updated calipers and a more balanced lever feel. The expected price in the USA market should land around $12,000 to $13,000, placing it close to other retro-styled machines, but offering stronger engine performance and a more refined ride feel for the money. Overall, the Z900 RS stands out in 2026 by blending old-school looks with calm, steady performance and real upgrades that make everyday riding easier and more satisfying. Number 9, Yamaha XSR700. The Yamaha XSR700 steps into 2026 with a fresh take on its retro look. The tank sits with a cleaner curve, the headlight housing is trimmed down, and the side panels use a smoother finish that gives the bike a tighter shape overall. The seat is a bit flatter this year, making the bike look more balanced from front to back. At around 410 pounds, it stays light on its feet, which suits riders who want a retro shape without the extra bulk. The engine is a 700 cubic centimeter parallel twin that keeps its familiar punch but now feels more settled thanks to revised tuning. It picks up fast from low speed, does not feel strained in the mid-range, and holds a steady tone on long highway sections. Yamaha worked on the throttle response to keep it smooth, and the cooling system stays stable even in heavy city heat. Extra updates push the 2026 model forward. The fork has a firmer setup that cuts down on front-end bounce, while the rear shock is tuned to hold grip better when leaning through tight corners. Brakes get a more direct feel with a refreshed master cylinder. The exhaust note is deeper and less sharp than before, which fits the bike's retro tone without sounding dated. The expected price for the USA market sits around $9,000 to $10,000. In that range, the XSR700 offers a lighter, quicker feel than many retro machines, while keeping enough updates to justify its place in the 2026 lineup. Number 8. Moto Guzzi V7 Sport. The Moto Guzzi V7 Sport arrives in 2026 with a refreshed exterior that keeps its trademark stance but adds smoother shaping across the tank, side covers, and tail section. The headlight unit is cleaner, the metal finishes look more refined, and the seat has firmer contouring that blends better with the frame. The bike sits around 460 pounds, which gives it a planted feel while still being easy to handle in slow city movement. The engine is a 750cc transverse twin that delivers steady pull with a calm, even beat. The revised mapping for 2026 gives it smoother response at low throttle and a more settled mid-range. It holds speed on open roads without strain and keeps vibrations controlled thanks to updates in engine mounts and cooling flow. The extra upgrades for 2026 focus on ride quality and control. The fork uses a new internal setup that handles rough pavement with less flex, and the rear shocks keep the bike steady under quick weight shifts. Braking feels more sure thanks to improved calipers and a clearer lever feel. The expected price lands around $10,000 to $11,000, placing it in a competitive retro space, but offering its unique sideways twin layout and a stronger ride feel for the money. Overall, the Moto Guzzi V7 Sport brings its trademark charm into 2026 with smoother response, a calmer ride, and a refined exterior that keeps it true to its roots while feeling fresh in all the right ways. Number 7. BMW R12. The BMW R12 enters 2026 with an exterior that leans into classic shape but cleans up the lines for a more refined look. The tank has a smoother curve, the frame tubes are more visible, and the metal finish across the side panels feels tighter and more polished. The round headlight sits in a compact housing, and the seat shape flows better into the rear fender. The engine is a 1,200 cubic centimeter boxer twin that now runs with a calmer tone thanks to new tuning for 2026. It builds power in a steady, predictable way and holds speed on the highway without strain. Throttle response feels cleaner at low RPM, and the revised cooling setup keeps temperatures stable during long summer rides. Extra upgrades show up in suspension feel, electronics, and braking strength. The fork uses an improved internal layout that cuts down on front-end dive, and the rear shock keeps the bike planted during quick direction changes. The expected price should fall around $16,000 to $17,000. At that level, the R12 sits in the upper retro class but gives a clear step up in engine feel, build quality, and long ride comfort. Number 6. Kawasaki W800. The Kawasaki W800 rolls into 2026 with an exterior that leans deeper into its vintage roots while adding cleaner shaping across the tank, side panels, and tail. The chrome trim has a smoother finish this year, and the round headlight sits in a tighter housing that gives the front end a neat look. At roughly 490 pounds, it feels solid on the highway while still easy enough to guide in town. The engine is a 773 cubic centimeter air-cooled twin that keeps its calm, steady character but benefits from revised tuning. Low RPM response is smoother, mid-range pull feels more confident, and the vibration levels are better controlled than before. The cooling system moves air more efficiently around the fins, helping the bike keep stable temperatures during long summer rides in the USA. Extra updates for 2026 include firmer fork internals, a more supportive rear shock, and braking improvements that bring a clearer lever feel. The gauges keep their old-school twin-dial look, but the internal lighting is sharper and easier to read. The expected price sits around $9,000 to $10,000, giving it a strong position among retro bikes that do not try too hard to be modern but still offer present-day polish where it counts. Overall, the Kawasaki W800 holds on to its timeless style while adding small but meaningful upgrades that make it smoother, more comfortable, and better suited for daily rides in 2026. Number 5. Harley-Davidson Street Bob. The Harley-Davidson Street Bob enters 2026 with an exterior that sharpens its stripped-down cruiser look. The tank has a cleaner curve, the fenders are trimmed tighter, and the blacked-out finish across the frame and engine cases looks more refined than the previous year. The Mini 8 bars sit at a comfortable rise, giving the bike a bold stance without going over the top. The engine is a 1,750 cubic centimeter V-twin that brings a stronger and smoother push thanks to updated mapping. Low RPM torque feels more immediate, mid-range pull is firmer, and the bike holds steady on long highway runs. The new cooling setup keeps temperatures stable even during hot USA summers, and the vibration control is slightly better, giving the motor a calmer feel when cruising for long stretches. Extra upgrades for 2026 include a firmer suspension setup that resists sag under weight shifts, along with a rear shock that handles bumps more cleanly. The expected price lands around $16,000 to $17,000, placing it right in the zone for riders who want a pure cruiser feel without paying the upper-tier Harley figures. Overall, the Street Bob continues its stripped-down style while adding a calmer motor feel, sharper finishes, and stronger ride control, making it one of the cleaner cruiser picks in the 2026 lineup. Number 4. Suzuki GSX 8T. The Suzuki GSX 8T enters 2026 with an exterior that leans toward a sleek modern retro mix. The tank has a smooth arc with a tight grip on the frame, the headlight sits in a compact round shell, and the side panels use a clean matte finish that gives the bike a sharp outline without clutter. The tail section is short and neat, keeping the stance tight. At around 490 pounds, it keeps a steady feel on the highway while still easy enough to steer through city lanes. The engine is an 800 cubic centimeter parallel twin tuned for calm, steady delivery. It moves from low RPM with smooth pull, settles into mid-range with a confident tone, and stays composed at higher speed. The revised mapping for 2026 makes throttle input steadier, especially in stop-and-go traffic. Extra changes on the GSX 8T show up in the suspension and control hardware. The fork uses new internals that reduce front-end dive during quick braking, and the rear shock offers firmer support when leaning through long bends. Braking response feels more direct due to a refined master cylinder. The expected price should fall around $9,000 to $10,000, putting it in a strong spot for riders who want a mid-size retro machine with present-day updates. Overall, the Suzuki GSX 8T brings a smart mix of style, calm performance, and fresh hardware that makes it a solid pick for riders who want a modern bike with classic lines in the 2026 market. Number 3. Royal Enfield Classic 650. The Royal Enfield Classic 650 moves into 2026 with an exterior that leans even deeper into old-world styling while smoothing out the edges for a cleaner look. The tank has a rounder curve, the metal side panels sit closer to the frame, and the chrome trims are finished with tighter polish. The headlight housing looks more compact, and the fenders have a smoother cut that gives the bike a neat, settled shape. The engine is a 650 twin that carries updates in fueling and cooling to keep the ride calm and consistent. Low RPM response feels smoother, the mid-range has stronger pull, and the highway tone stays steady without strain. Vibration control is improved thanks to revised mounts, making long-distance cruising easier on the hands. Extra work for 2026 shows up in the ride feel. The fork carries improved internals that cut down on front-end chatter, and the rear shocks hold the bike steady during quick weight shifts. Braking has a firmer lever feel due to upgraded hardware. The expected price sits around $7,000 to $8,000, which places it well below many retro machines while still offering a twin engine and a polished exterior. Overall, the Classic 650 stands strong in 2026 with a smoother motor, cleaner styling, and steady ride updates that make it a simple, pleasing machine for riders who want old-school charm with fresh touches. Number 2. Kawasaki Z650 RS. The Kawasaki Z650 RS rolls into 2026 with an exterior that sharpens its retro lines while keeping the familiar silhouette. The tank is shaped with a smoother arc, the side panels tuck in closer, and the round headlight sits in a cleaner housing that brightens the front. The tail section is trimmed tighter for a neater finish, and the color schemes feel more refined this year. The engine is a 649cc parallel twin that gets mild tuning updates for steadier pull. Low RPM response is smoother, mid-range delivery has a more confident tone, and the motor holds speed better on open highways. The front fork uses revised internals that settle the front wheel over rough pavement, and the rear shock offers firmer support when leaning into bends. The expected price sits around $9,000 to $10,000, which lands it in a sweet spot for riders who want retro styling with modern reliability and a light, easy feel. Overall, the Z650 RS continues to grow in 2026 with smoother response, cleaner styling, and upgrades that make it feel more settled on any kind of ride without losing its classic shape. Number 1. Triumph Bonneville T120. The Triumph Bonneville T120 steps into 2026 with an exterior that leans even harder into clean vintage lines while gaining subtle refinements that make the bike look tighter and more polished. The tank has a smoother sweep. The metal panels sit closer to the frame, and the fenders carry a cleaner cut that gives the bike a neat flow from front to back. The round headlight feels more compact, and the chrome detailing has a finer finish this year. The engine is a 1,200 cubic centimeter parallel twin updated for calmer, more even response. Low RPM pickup is smoother, the mid-range feels stronger, and the motor holds steady speed on long open roads with less effort. Vibration control is better thanks to revised mounts, giving the bike a calmer feel during long weekend rides. It keeps the classic twin character while offering more smoothness than older versions. Extra changes bring better balance and comfort. The fork uses improved internals that cut down on front-end flex, while the rear shocks hold the bike steady under quick weight shifts. The expected price sits around $13,000 to $14,000, placing it at the higher end of the retro class, but offering strong build quality and a refined twin for the money. Overall, the Bonneville T120 closes out 2026 with cleaner style, smoother ride feel, and updates that keep it fresh without taking away the classic charm that riders have always liked. And with this, we have reached the end of this video. Make sure to like it and subscribe the channel for future upcoming videos.